everyone, and welcome to Between Friends. I am Ashley Jones from Designs and Machine Embroidery and excited to be here with you today. I am filling in for Eileen. She is just out this week, but you'll see her back next week. I'm excited to be here and share some fun information with you. And of course, we always have a special guest. We've got tons of tips, and we're going to be talking about a new product today. So I'm always excited to share something new. The thing I love most about working for Designs and Machine Embroidery is that we always come out with new products that make our embroidery life easier. And so that's, to me, the most fun thing about this particular job. Not only is it meeting and sharing with all of you out there, but I love something new and exciting. So I'm excited to share that with you today. So if you haven't already, tell us over in the chat where you're watching from. Give us a shout out, say hi. We love to see everyone viewing. And today we're going to be talking about embroidery on the unconventional. So I'm excited to share with you some information on stitching on something that's not the norm. You guys see there in the picture, so maybe something that you have stitched on, but I have a couple of different types of these items that we're going to be talking about, and share with you hooping tips and suggestions, but also how to select the right stabilizer and the appropriate needle for your project as well, which makes a huge difference. And the tips that we're talking about today will help you embroider on not just these items that I'm talking about today, and then also Sue has one to share with you also, but it will help you wrap your head around kind of a process of how can I embroider on something else that you see that maybe is not something that you would normally embroider on. So just kind of that thought process to get through it, selecting the right stabilizer, if it is hoopable, things like that. So you guys know our special guest, Sue Brown from OML Embroidery. This is my very first time sharing the screen with Sue. I have seen her numerous times with Eileen, and I always enjoy her presentation with Eileen. But today, I have her all to myself. So I'm excited to have her join me. So if Sue would join me on the screen, that would be awesome. So we can introduce her to everyone. So, hey,
Hi,
Sue.
everyone. I am so happy to be here. You're awesome, Ashley.
Oh,
You're
well,
awesome.
thank you. Thank
And
you.
it's
And
always
so are
fun.
you. And you are always fun. And Halloween, I know I've watched you enough to know that's just one of your favorite holidays. And I love your hairstyle. Something looks a little different, though, Sue,
I
peeking out
can
of
hear
your hair
you.
there. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I can
So
hear you. I have my ears on,
I love
so
it.
everyone's like, "Hi, Sue." They expect nothing less from me.
I love
They
it.
really don't. But
I love
yeah,
it. If we couldn't have fun, Sue, then, where would we all be, right?
I make
So,
embroidery fun. That's one of the things that I do. I get silly. I name everything, googly eyes, and I don't get upset when I make a mistake. I just show everyone how to fix it. It's not a big deal. So it's
that
fun.
yeah, for sure. That's the best way to learn, I think, is make mistakes, and then you'll know for next time. And if you do what you do for everyone, share your mistakes, maybe it'll prevent someone else from making a mistake as well, because we all do it, right?
Well, if I'm going to do it, they're going to do it. I'm not perfect, but I
No
do
one is.
every single video live. And that's why if something's going to
Yeah.
go wrong, it's going to go wrong when it's live. So,
I know.
yeah, I
I
just,
know that.
everyone appreciates that. So it's not a big
Yeah.
deal. Just fix it.
I Right, absolutely. So, Sue, we have tons of people already joining us, and as usual, from all over. So, our very own Roy Garland here. Thanks for joining, Roy. He's always watching, and then if we have a disaster, sometimes he can help jump in. So, we've got Kathy from Minnesota, Dawn from Missouri. And we've got Donna Hartwick. Thank you for joining,
Australia.
Donna from Australia.
Wow.
So she's a frequent flyer here, and so we love having our um, fun people that are regulars and also some newbies too. So just in case there are some new viewers out there, Sue, why don't you tell everybody about OML Embroidery and what you do there at OML Embroidery?
Well, our big thing, aside from showing everyone how to fix their mistakes, we have they called themselves the OML gang. So we're a gang of embroiderers, good embroiderers.
Yeah.
Every Saturday we do a sew along. And the last week of the month, I do the dime sew along. And
Yeah.
it's really fun. We have a great time, but it's learning. It's like I said, mistakes, tips and tricks, just everything you want to know in real time. And we have a Facebook group and we just have a lot of fun. That's
Really
all it
cool.
is. I challenge people um just to step outside the box. I live outside the box. So I tell people, if you haven't tried FSL, try it. You might love it. So
I
I
know.
get
I
people
agree.
to step out of their comfort zone.
Yeah, for sure. I definitely love stepping out of my comfort zone for sure too. I
Yes,
definitely agree with that. And that's kind of what, our topic actually leads into that today, kind of outside of your comfort zone and how to handle it and how to get started as well. So just saying hi to a few more people. So Nancy from Puyallup. Hey, Nancy, I used to live in Graham, so I was right there beside you. And Olympia, Washington, the capital up there. So thanks for joining, Diana. And we have Marie Jo from France. How cool, right? South of
oh,
France, she says.
bonjour.
So, and
Yes.
Ohio. And we've got Texas, Ann Philback joining us, Caroline Booth from South Texas, Ann Philback, which is, she is always on our Facebook Live. So we so appreciate you, Ann, and Jill as well. Thanks for joining, Jill. Trisha Cox. Hey, Trisha, my friend from Conroe area in Houston. Thanks for joining. Such a lovely group of people. So Diva says, hi, Sue. So thanks for everybody for joining. So Laurie, you guys know Laurie, she's one of our educators here at Dime. She teaches our lessons. She also is on chat. Oh, my friend from Spokane area, Elizabeth Culver. Thanks for joining, Elizabeth. So many people, Sue. So I think we've built a pretty good crowd here. So let's get started talking about, what we're going to be stitching on today. And I'm going to do something a little bit different. I'm going to be showing a stitch out on the machine, which is kind of challenging to do sometimes. As you know, Sue, you're switching cameras, moving everything around. But I've got some tips that I wanted to share to everyone at the machine for attaching their hoops and getting things lined up with our snap hoop monster.
Perfect.
And Sue, I know you have some tips too with the item that you've chosen that you're going to talk about as well. So I have chosen a couple of items that I wanted to share some tips and tricks for embroidering on. And I do think these will actually spill over into some of your other projects as well. And I know Sue's item will too. So she's got a particular item, but her tips also will work on a variety of different items that are of similar type. So let's get started with what we're going to talk about. So I'm going to be talking about embroidering on, you guys know these. Sue, have you embroidered on all of these?
I
These little,
have,
oh
yes,
my
and they turn out really well, but it's not the easiest thing to hoop
gosh.
unless you do it right.
Right, absolutely. And so this is nothing new. These little round placemats, they kind of have the texture of a sun hat, although they're not straw. They're like a synthetic type straw. But I do have another one I'm going to be talking about today. This is kind of a faux leather, but it's actually like plastic, so to speak, but it has that texture of faux leather. So we're going to be talking about that one as well. But I love these round placemats. I have a small square table, so it really is nice to have a smaller placemat because the big ones, Sue, they overlap one another. So I love these round ones. So I've got some tips on getting your design in the right place and planning your design. And then we'll also talk about hooping as well. So if we could share my screen, I'm going to start by talking about what you've got to consider. So anytime you're embroidering on anything, and I'm sure you'll agree with me on this, Sue, is you got to figure out where to start when you're thinking outside the box. just like you mentioned, you've got to figure out, where do I start? I've got to figure out what stabilizer. I've got to figure out the needle. I've got to figure out how I'm going to hoop this, or if it even is hoopable. What about the design choice? And then thread usually is kind of my last thing, because most of the things that we do, you can really switch out any type of embroidery thread. So of those things, trying to figure out, did I miss anything, Sue? What else do you kind of have to determine? Is there something else you can think of that you might have to determine before you start to work on a project that's outside the box, like you said?
Along with the thread, I would add color, because when you put two colors together, it's going to stand out or blend or look weird or look amazing. So
Or
I
look
made a
amazing.
quilt. Yeah, I made a quilt for a girl named Lavender Brown,
Oh,
and it was lavender and brown, and everyone was like, ew, but it was gorgeous, absolutely gorgeous. So don't be afraid to try. But thread
yeah.
color is important. There's no point doing the embroidery if you can't see it.
Absolutely. And that's a good question to ask yourself. Like, do you want the embroidery to pop? So a contrasting thread, or do you want it to, kind of blend in and be muted and maybe do something that's a tone on tone? I personally love a tone on tone look, but since we show so much under the camera, it's really hard for that to be visible. So I don't get to do it as much unless I'm just doing something personal. So, but with those questions in mind, Sue, I just kind of created this little chart here. This is kind of
Oh,
where I
nice.
start. So if I am very technical and analytical, and so usually when I have an item that I think, oh my gosh, can I embroider on that? I start with, first of all, can it be hooped? Because we know that that is the biggest question. If we cannot somehow hold it under our needle. And I shouldn't have even used the term hoop. I don't know if you've ever heard Deborah Jones Sue talk about holding techniques. That's why she uses that term, because some of these things we can't even hoop, but if we can hold them properly and get that under the needle, we can embroider on them, wouldn't you say?
You can just be careful of your fingers. You don't
All
want your
right.
groovy nail polish to, get wrecked.
That's
But
true.
yes,
That's true.
yes,
And so that's the first question I usually ask. Like, if I'm in the store, I'm shopping, can I hoop this? And if I can't hoop it, can I somehow secure it to my hoop in order to be able to embroider on it? And then it's kind of like a flow chart in my head, just like you see here. Okay, so if I cannot hoop it, then usually I'm going to be using adhesive stabilizer, because that's going to hold my item to the hoop so that my machine can still do the work for me. Now, if I can hoop it, then my first question to myself usually is, does it stretch or not? And Sue, that actually I know applies to your item, so I won't go into too much detail on the stretch, but that's usually one thing I ask myself is, does it stretch or not? Because that's going to determine the type of stabilizer we use, right?
definitely, definitely, 100%.
Yeah.
And if you don't
So
stabilize it, that's the foundation to your embroidery. It's not going to look good.
it might be the foundation to your disaster too, right, Sue?
It happens. It happens. Hands
I
up if
love
it
it.
happened to you. I know.
Yeah,
It just does, and
it
then
does.
you just go back and realize what you did, and then
Yeah, it
fix it.
definitely does. And those of us that do this for a living, I can honestly say we probably make more mistakes than anybody out there, because a lot of us do it twice as much. So that gives room for twice as much error too. So, okay, so in the sense of these cute little round placemats here, I would say, can I hoop it? And honestly, I'm going to actually show you that with Dime's magnetic hoop, you actually can hoop this, or it could be a no and you use adhesive stabilizer. And then if you are using adhesive stabilizer, then I usually ask myself, do I want it to tear away or rinse away completely from my item, is the next thing that I would ask. And then like we said, the stretch, I usually would ask myself, does it have stretch to it? And if it does not, then I head towards the tearaway type stabilizers. And if it does have stretch, then I usually lean towards a cutaway. And now there are so many stabilizer choices, and some things have stretch but would use a wash away stabilizer, which is not cutaway or tear away. So, really, kind of in the end, all of this might just go out the window. You never know. So, but you really have
That's
just got to look at your item and plan. And so what I've done is I've got
beautiful.
two different options for you that I'm going to be talking about that I embroidered. I embroidered in the center of this one, these beautiful, those are the Embroidery Gardens hand sketch florals. And then last week, Sue, I don't know if you watched with Eileen, but she announced our holiday lace charms, which are cute little seasonal lace designs, and I actually used those lace designs as a
Oh.
design to put on my mat. What do you think?
I
So,
I think that's brilliant and absolutely beautiful. I love lace. That's
yeah,
one of my favorite my lace maker. I still do a happy dance over that program. I love it.
yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely gorgeous placemats. They would even be stunning for a gift because they're so
Oh,
beautiful.
absolutely. And one of my favorite things to stitch, Sue, is anything for the kitchen because I really love stitching things for me personally that are useful that I
Yes.
actually am going to use in my home. And then also, I like to give them as gifts because things in your kitchen, pretty much everybody can use. Even if it's a guy, they might use something for grilling, like if you're giving a hand towel, things like that. So I do feel like things for our kitchen is it's a really good all around bunch of items to embroider on and give as gifts. I agree. So, okay, so I've got some tips for hooping and embroidering on this. And Sue, I'm going to head over to my hooping area and I'm going to reveal a new product. And I think you're going to love this.
Oh.
So, yeah.
Oh, I'm
Okay.
so excited. That's
Yes. So I'm going to
awesome.
walk over here and we're going to see my hoop mat come up on the screen here in just a bit. And so, oh, maybe it's not in there. Let me reconnect here. So, gotta love technology,
Especially when it's live,
right?
it never works. Not everything will work. That's the
And
way it
so,
goes. Oh, now everyone can really see my ears.
I love that. So make big Sue. Okay, and so now we've got my hoop mat up. Okay, so now the hoop mat is this blue mat, and you guys are probably familiar with this. This is actually one of the best selling products from Dime because it does solve a challenge for us embroiderers. It's a silicone texture, so when you put your hoop on it, it doesn't slide around and scoot around on the your table. So it's a mat that you just put down on your hooping area and then you'll place your hoop on top and it'll keep it in place. Also, we use the hoop mat in conjunction with our PAL 3 light. It gives that crosshair beam there. And so this is just one of my absolute all-time favorites. Well, I have to say to everybody out there watching, if you love your hoop mat, give me a shout out on the comments up there because I know I can't live with mine. And let me show you. Yes, Sue's saying yes, she is one of those. But take a look at this. We have a new hoop mat in town.
Oh,
Look at
nice.
that. Isn't that gorgeous?
I
So,
love
new
it.
color. And the color of the new hoop mat is specifically so that this light, our PAL 3 light, shows up brighter and better. We call it our high definition hoop mat. So take a look at the difference in the light and how it shows up on the blue versus the pink. So isn't that cool? So
That
that
is
is
the best.
first and foremost, Sue, is that the color really does make that light really bold. Also, Eileen put more marks. So you've got a marking every ½ inch now to give you more lines on here for your use. And you can tell it covered my blue mat. And so it is larger. So bigger is better, right, Sue?
Absolutely. I love it. I have 2 hoop mats. I'm gonna get 2 new ones though. And I just leave them on my hooping area. The only thing is, remember, they're not a cutting mat.
Oh my gosh,
So,
that's a good
yeah,
tip, Sue.
yeah,
If
it's
you
not
do
for cut.
cut your
Ask me
mat,
how I
then
know.
yeah, you just have 2 smaller versions, right?
Mm, yeah, or frayed edges, it's okay.
Right, for sure. And so we do love the new larger size too. That's actually why I'm in a different area. Normally I demonstrate right where I'm sitting, but this mat is much larger, so that's why I wanted to give you guys the full effect here. But if you are unfamiliar with the hoop mat, this is why we love it. So when you are working with an item, you don't want to be chasing your hoop around. So this silicone, if I'm pushing on this, it's not moving because the silicone is keeping the hoop in place. So this is Dime's sticky hoop, which is our flat metal hoop. And I'm going to be using this and the Snap Hoop Monster, which is Dime's magnetic hoop, for my hooping of my placemat there. But I know we don't say this very often, but this does work with your standard hoops as well. So any hoop that you have, even if it came with your machine or it's our Dime hoop or another manufacturer's hoop, the whole idea of the hoop mat is that while you are hooping, it is going to stay exactly where you place the base of your hoop. And notice here my PAL 3 light I can actually also use with my standard hoop as well. So once I'm ready to hoop something and I take this out of the way, I don't have an item here that'll go in the standard hoop, but just so you can see here, I can still use this for my standard hoop. So, and like I said, I know we don't show that a lot because, well, we love our magnetic hoops here at Dime. Now, let me show you the 2 placemats that I did here. And I'm going to point my light out of the way there. So I did this cute little round placemat here. Look at that shimmer. That is Caesar Glitter HTV in this design. This is one of the designs from the Hand Sketch Florals, Reen Wilcoxon collaboration with Dime. And I just used some colors that were fall-like colors. This darker gold, the bronze orange, and then that eggplant kind of purple there. But oh my gosh, look at the sparkle. I just love it. Now, this placemat here is actually, it feels like faux leather, and it's really plastic when you look at the actual tag. It is really just plastic, but it's soft. So I knew that I could most likely embroider on it. It does have a lining already on the back. But it was still easy to embroider through both of them. This particular one here, it's got the ridges. So those ridges I covered with a piece of water soluble topper. You guys are familiar with this. We put this on our towels, but I actually stitched through that on the top, and I'm actually going to hoop one and show you to give as smooth of a surface as possible for the stitch out. And now, believe it or not, these are freestanding lace leaves that I stitched, and I even put the same color bobbin underneath that I have on top. So my placemat would essentially be reversible if I wanted it to, because it does look as good on the back as it does on the front. Now, I rarely do that. I usually just leave my bobbin, and that's what I did in this example here. But I know there's lots of embroiderers out there that they really want the back to look just like the front. And so a freestanding lace design stitched on something is a good way to accomplish that detail, because it's meant to look the same on the front and the back. So, okay, so let's talk about what I did with these here. So I actually used my sticky hoop with the gray one here, and I actually was able to hoop this. And the reason I was able to hoop it is because since I embroidered in the center, I didn't need to get to the edge. And that's something else to consider whenever you're hooping your item. So let's first grab my hoop. I'm going to start with my magnetic hoop here, and then separate my pieces. And then I'm going to grab that. I got to reach over here because I left it in my other area. So I'm going to grab that. This is that faux leather. And I was able to hoop this with my magnetic hoop, and it'll actually hold it. And because this doesn't cause hoop burn, I am perfectly fine when I unhoop it. So I did use a water-soluble stabilizer because this particular fabric is quite sturdy, and it's not stretchy. And so it's kind of stable all by itself. So I just chose one layer of our sew and wash stabilizer, and that is this one here. So the Exquisite Sew and Wash. Oh, I see my camera zooming in and out, so I'll try to go slow. But this is a stabilizer that will completely dissolve when you wet it. It is the stabilizer we use for freestanding lace. So it does completely go away. Now, I felt like that was a good choice for this placemat because it's pretty stable all by itself. So I place that down and I can use my magnetic frame there. And that's how I stitched this placemat here. So the stabilizer was a wash away stabilizer. The needle that I chose was my regular embroidery needle. And that is our light ballpoint embroidery needle, worked just fine for this. It's not extra heavy, and it was easy to puncture. So my regular embroidery needle worked just fine. So that is how I hooped this placemat here. Now let's talk about the other option, our gray one. I'm going to just slip that to the side here. So this particular placemat, because I'm embroidering on the edge of it, I couldn't hoop it with my regular magnetic hoop, because if I did, then this is kind of what it would look like here for me to be able to get to the edge. So in this case, the location of the embroidery also determined the hoop that I'll be using. So I'm going to be using my snap hoop, or my sticky hoop, for this example. And notice these look identical, but they actually are not. So sticky hoop is meant for adhesive stabilizer, and you could see the back of mine is really messy because I don't bother cleaning that off. But the back of our snap hoop monster has these suede strips that are going to glide on the bed of your machine, so that it doesn't, the metal doesn't come in contact with the bed of your machine. Whereas with the stabilizer on the back here, it's the stabilizer that'll be against the bed. Okay, so I'm going to take my sticky hoop, and I am going to put my adhesive stabilizer. Now, with a sticky hoop, you actually have two choices of stabilizer. So we have peel and stick, which is a tear away adhesive, and we have pre-cut stabilizer that is the adhesive sew and wash. So both of these are sticky, the adhesive part. One of them, the sew and wash, is going to completely dissolve. The peel and stick is going to tear away. Now, in the instance of this particular placemat, I really could have used the tear away because it's on the back. Nobody's going to see. But I really wanted it to look the same on the front and the back. So I used the adhesive sew and wash. So let me pull this apart. Should have done that while I was off camera. It never, like Sue said, it never works right when you're on live. So, and then I'm going to stick this to the back of my hoop and flip that over just like that. And now this is sticky, so I can stick my placemat right to it. Okay, and I've already done that, and what I'm going to show you a tip for removing that. But I am going to go to my machine, and we're going to see stitching on this item here. So here's another one. Now look at the difference. This one is kind of solid, but this one actually is very sheer between the layers of the placemat here. So that's perfectly fine. You can see I stitched some text on top. I thought this would be a really cute charger with the place in the center for a guest, and it says, "I'm thankful for you." So I thought that was a cute idea. Something simple. So now what I'm going to do is I've got my template, and this is what I'm going to stitch on the bottom. And I'm going to use my PAL 3 light to help me here. And so I can line my PAL light up with the numbers on my hoop there. And that allows me to get this perfectly in the center. And I'm actually going to go this angle, so this will be hanging over the clip on the machine, or the embroidery unit. So, and then I just stick that down. Now we
That's
do need
amazing.
the stabilizer on top too, and so I would do that after I remove that template. So that's pretty easy though, right, Sue?
That's amazing. If you were doing it on a regular hoop, I think that would have taken me a lot longer to get the perfect position like that. And you did it in what, 10 seconds?
Yeah,
I
exactly.
think that's amazing.
For sure. And I'm going to show another tip too, because I'm actually going to remove this. And then let's head over to the embroidery machine and I'll actually show them some more tips, Sue. And then we're going to hear your tips. So I'm going to go over to my embroidery machine. And once that camera comes up here, there we go. So let me give you a tip. When you're using any embroidery hoop, if you push on the hoop itself, you could push your actual embroidery unit and make it move. So I actually put my hand behind this clip so you can see my finger back here. It's just out of the camera. I'll see if I can angle it there without making someone sick. But I put my finger back here on this part so that when I push on the hoop, I don't accidentally move my embroidery unit. So that's one tip that I can give you because some hoops, when you put them in, they're kind of snug. Now, here's another tip, and this is one of my favorite things about using adhesive stabilizer. When you bring a design up on your embroidery machine, it comes up usually in the center of your sewing field. And so that's where the needle position is right now. So to get that center with my printed template, I could just literally move it right under the needle, just like that. And I'm pretty
Wonderful.
center. Isn't that cool? I'm
That's
gonna lift that back
amazing.
up. Now I do need to remove my my template, and I also need to rotate my design. So I'm gonna do that before I forget and stitch this the wrong direction because that's generally what would happen on a live presentation. And then I'm gonna grab this is my water soluble topping. It's a film. And now that I've got this into position, I need to remove this template. You don't want to stitch through that. And then I actually use my adhesive stabilizer to hold my film in place, and I don't have to really tape it except for maybe one little spot up here. I could put a little piece of tape so it doesn't fold over. And then it's ready to embroider. So isn't that easy? What do you think, Sue?
I think that's brilliant. And I think it'll take you, considerably less time to make Christmas gifts or Thanksgiving gifts by doing that. Rather than spending time hooping, you're spending the time stitching, and they'll be perfect. Absolutely perfect.
Yeah, I definitely agree. And it's super easy. And I know that we all could stare at our machine and watch that stitch out. It's like watching an aquarium, right?
Definitely. I still do it. I've been doing this for 20 years and I still watch it come together. It's like art coming together,
Yeah,
I guess. I
for
don't know.
sure.
I love it.
So while that's stitching, so Sue, tell us about the item that you selected, and any tips that you have for for stabilizer and hooping on the item you've chosen.
Okay, well, the item I have it's a big shawl, but a big winter scarf because I am in Canada. So we get cold. And the problem with it, you can see it's a little bit thin. You can see light through it. And it's extremely stretchy in all directions. So a lot of people ask, can I embroider on this? I say yes, but you have to do it properly. Now, the first thing that I do, I don't make any guesses, the normal cotton we're used to or t-shirts, but I grab this. Woohoo, I grab upside down. There we go. I grab this. This is a lifesaver. Sometimes I tuck it underneath my hoop mat so I never lose it. And because I have no idea what to do on a knit, I have absolutely no idea. It's not something I do on a daily basis. So it has all the different fabric and what it's going to tell you. So knits, bulky, it's definitely. So it tells you the stabilizer, no show mash backing, and water soluble topping, just exactly the same as the placemats. And it tells you what needle. So a light ballpoint is what you want. You could use the 7511, but the light ballpoint says that it's like 7010, so a little bit smaller. And the ballpoint makes it so it doesn't really have holes through it. It kind of just opens up all these threads and everything. And then what I would do, it's so easy to hoop now. I don't have my overhead camera. Um, but all it is this. And look, you can see the lines. So if you pulled a little bit, because I still can pull it, and it's out of shape, it's super easy to make a line. Grab a ruler, make it perfect. So I just have the mesh stabilizer on the underneath and hooped it like this. And what I'm going to do right here is I'm going to put a bee because it's for my bee. And you can do that and you can feel confident that it'll be in the right spot. I want it in the middle. So I would print out the placement and do exactly what Ashley did and stitch on it. Make sure if you're not using, for whatever reason, you're not using a magnetic hoop, 9 times out of 10, you're going to stretch it. And what happens when you stretch it? When
Yeah.
you take it out of the hoop, it is not going to be nice. So to me, this is like safe. You can do it. You can do on sweaters. I hear that all the time. People ask, can you embroider on a sweater? Yep.
You
But you
sure
don't want
can.
to hoop it. Yeah, you can do anything you want. I'm a firm believer that you can, with dimes stuff, you
Right.
can embroider on anything.
Yeah, I
Just
definitely
make sure.
agree.
Yeah.
Definitely agree.
The other thing I always have handy is my stabilizer
Yes.
dispenser. If you notice, I got the exact correct size on the back, so I don't have tons hanging out. I love that.
Yeah.
So all these things make it a lot easier to get perfect embroidery, perfectly placed on a very, very stretchy item.
Yeah, absolutely. I definitely agree with you, Sue. And having the right tools, it makes our life easier for sure. And not only makes your life easier, but then you have better results, like you said, with the embroiderer's compass. I think that's a fantastic tool to be able to use. And I will tell you, Deborah gives you lots of tips in there that you can apply to other things as well. It's just an overall really awesome yes tool. That little window that Sue is pointing to is extra tips from Deborah. So I love that. So Sue, I was just going to share some of our comments and questions here. So Cheryl says that great tool. She uses hers almost every project. She's talking about the embroiderer's compass, I think, there too. So, and Carrie
Love it.
Cunningham says the compass is quite handy, which I definitely agree. So that embroiderer's compass, if you guys are unfamiliar, it is a stabilizer and needle helper. Because it is important to choose the right stabilizer and the right needle for your project, you would select the type of fabric you're stitching on, and it will give you recommended stabilizer, needle, and any special tips from Deborah. So good.
I think it's one of the most useful, and it's really everyone can afford it. It's not like too expensive.
Right.
Literally keep it where I can find it because the everything is on there, and I'm not going to remember in 2 years how did I knit, how did I embroider on Beatrice's scarf. I
Yeah.
just look it up, but I think everyone should have one. I have one, and I've been embroidering for 20 years, and believe
Right.
me, I use it. I
Yeah, for
absolutely
sure.
use it. Yep.
I definitely agree. And Retha Ranky says, I love that there is now a wash away sticky. And I love that too, because so many things we need it to disappear from the back. So it's really handy to have that stabilizer there. So, and then a few more questions. There was a question. So several questions about where I got the placemat. So you can honestly find those things anywhere. So the ones that I held up are from a combination of, they actually sometimes will have them at the dollar store. I've seen them at Walmart, Target. You can get them on the internet from Amazon. I've seen them at Kohl's. I mean, it really, about any store that you go into that has any sort of kitchen items, most likely you can find something similar and easy to stitch on and great like Sue said, gifts, but then just fun for your own embellishments as well. So, and then Betsy says you can put that in water to dissolve. And so I actually have a removable tip. If you can't put it in water, I've got a tip for you coming up, and I hear my machine was done. And so we'll head over there and see that in just a second. But let's answer some more of these questions. And then Star says she has have a lot of those placemats, but she hasn't embroidered on them. So do it, Star. I tell you, it's really fun and easy. And people have been doing this for years. It's just a really good example. I really love embroidering on them. So I just thought I would share with everyone. And then Patricia asked a great question about what needle I used for the placemat. So for the woven placemat, I actually used a sharp point embroidery needle, but honestly, it's actually kind of a loose weave. It's not super dense. And so I think you could get away with your regular embroidery needle on these as well. And I did use the regular light ballpoint embroidery needle on the one that's kind of the faux leather kind of texture. So I think your regular embroidery needle would work just fine. I use a 7511 more than about any other needle. What's your go-to needle size, Sue?
I don't change my needle size ever. It's kind of like the bobbin. I
Yeah.
always forget to change the bobbin. 7511 works for everything I've done so far. I know
Yep.
people prefer, but I keep my dime needles
Handy. Yep.
right
Absolutely.
handy, right
Yeah,
by my machine, and when I need to put a new one in, I just do it. So,
for
yeah,
sure.
I'm maybe a little bit lazy in that
Yeah.
regard.
Well, I don't think that that's the case, Sue. If you embroider on things that aren't super thick, then that needle is great for nearly everything that we do. So, so yeah, I use it the majority of the time. It's the needle that I use the most is the 7511 for sure, for
Yep.
my embroidery needles. And then Julie asked about the dimensions of the round placemat. And Julie, that actually is a really good question. And so I'm going to show you how I created my text so that it was perfectly sized for my placemat. And I've got a little tip for that. So I'm going to share my screen for my software. And then also somewhere in the comments too, while we're bringing up my software screen here, somebody had asked about the loop at the top or the eyelet at the top for the lace designs. And I can show you how to do that as well while we're over here. But for designing on my round placemats, what I did was I just drew a circle the size of my placemat. So if I choose my artwork tool, and I'm going to do an undo here. So this is my artwork tool here at the top, and the drop down arrow lets me choose different types of shapes, and then a pen tool, which I can draw any shape I want. But the ellipse, if I click and drag, I can make an oval and, make it where it's a circle. So if I hold down my control key when I click and drag, I automatically get a perfect circle that size. So that's what I did for the placemat. And then I measured my placemat. My round placemats, they were all 15 inches. So I created that circle as a 15-inch circle, and then I'm going to zoom out. And now this is acting as a template for me so that whatever I put on here, I can see how it's going to look size-wise, but then also placement. So let me show you with the text that I use. So I'm going to click to add text to the screen. So I click my text tool one time, and then when I click on the screen, it drops that letter A. And then I can go over here and change that. And I am thankful for, and I misspelled that. Actually, you can see that red line underneath. My software is going to save my embroidery project for me. And it's telling me that I misspelled that. So if I right click on it, it gives me a couple of options, and it thinks I want to say thankfully, but I just want thankful. So I am thankful for, and then I am going to put you on the bottom. So I'm going to put that on another line and say YOU and click apply. So I put this on my circle path, which over here in my properties, I have this type option, and I can choose circle and click apply. And you can see it automatically put you on the bottom for me because it's on a separate line. If you want it all on the same line or all on the top, you can just keep it all on one line. If you want it all on the bottom, this reverse direction option here, I can check it or uncheck it, and it'll pop that text to the bottom of my circle. Okay, so I'm actually just going to leave it on the top, and I'm going to go back and put my U back in place. And now I'm going to resize this to fit my circle. So I want my text to be a little bit bigger. So all these little shapes actually will help me adjust. So this top one, if I click and drag it, you can see it's making my text larger. And then this circle underneath will actually stretch the circle itself. So I can actually stretch that circle so that it is nearly as large as my placemat. Now I stretched it till it was almost to the edge because I wanted the plate, the dish that I put on it, not to obstruct my my text. And so now I've got my text in place. And the other thing that I did, and I'm going to zoom in here to the bottom, I wanted the YOU, close to the edge, but my letter Y, since it has a descender here, I actually am going to move that so that it's on my placemat here. So if I click the diamond in the center of any of these letters, it'll let me manipulate just one letter. So what I did was I actually just moved it up almost like it was a capital Y so that it would not extend past my placemat there. So look at that. Isn't that cool?
Brilliant.
And so easy, right, Sue? So drawing the shape of your item allow you to design right on top of it, right?
Yep, definitely. And this is why I love the software, because you're making a circle, you're putting it in writing, you don't have to measure anything for, the placement. It's perfectly in the center around, and it's easy. It's really easy to do and not even that hard to figure out, I think. It does
Yeah.
it all for you, and that's why I love PEP software.
For sure. And now I have a huge hoop. I have a hoop that's a 10.5 by 16 hoop. So I could actually stitch this design all at one time on that placemat if I chose. But then, Sue, you saw that I actually stitched the U separate so that I could stitch that part while we were here on Facebook Live. So what I did, instead of having this all as one text, I actually just left the I am thankful. And then I copied and pasted it. And then now I've got the second part here. And I just reversed the direction on that one. It's the same size as my, did I lose it there? Let me do an undo, or I'm going to zoom out. There we go. So whenever I reverse the direction and it put it at the bottom of the circle, that pushed it off of my workspace as far as what was visible. So I just double clicked the zoom tool to bring everything on the screen there. So now this second I am thankful, instead of reinventing the wheel, I'm just going to change that to U, which is what I did for my design purposes so that I could stitch these easily separate. So if I zoom in to the U, and if I choose my text tool again, it'll bring back all of those shapes, and I could scoot that Y up so that it's not hanging off the edge of my placemat. So, and now I have two separate circles in order to accomplish what I was doing as far as giving these separate designs. So does that make sense, Sue? Did I make that clear?
Yes, yes, much easier. I wouldn't want to hoop it on the big 10 by 16 hoop. First of all, sticky for that huge would be a little difficult, but you want the smallest hoop for what you're embroidering. So it's easier the way and better the way you did it. You'll get better results the
For
way
sure.
you did
And
it.
kind of what you were getting at is it really is going to save stabilizer this way, right? Because I don't have
Oh,
all
for
this
sure.
blank area in the center. So I
That
love that.
other big hoop, it's even hard to maneuver around. Now I
Yeah.
have the magnetic one because you could see the design at the back there. I use it. And
Yeah.
it's perfect for that because I
Mhm.
don't need a ton of sticky stabilizer. And I'm
Absolutely.
filling the whole hoop with the design. So
For
much better.
sure. I definitely agree. So now I'm not sure, and I apologize. I scrolled through the questions as Sue was talking and giving her tips. And so I don't remember who asked, but somebody just asked about the eyelet. Well, and ironically, it's the same thing that we just did, Sue, with the circle. So if I choose the artwork tool and the ellipse and then click and drag, I'm just going to be drawing a smaller circle for that eyelet. And I want to turn this into a column stitch or a steel stitch. And so over depending on which program that you are using, if you're using Perfect Embroidery Pro, you can choose from your effects panel here and turn that into the steel stitch just like that. And you can see there's a little opening in the center, so I didn't get my circle quite big enough, so I can just stretch it larger. And if I click on this, I can see that this is a 0.34 by 0.34 for the size of this little eyelet. So depending on what you need it for. If you are using My Lace Maker, it works the same way, but My Lace Maker's column stitch is an icon right here on the toolbar. So I just switched my view and that column stitch is right there on the toolbar. So you still would click and draw the circle, hold down your control key, it'll give you a perfect circle. And then when you select it, just click that column stitch and it'll turn it into that little eyelet there. So really easy, right?
Definitely. And
Okay.
I'd like to remind everyone, because I get this question all the time, My Lace Maker, you can use separately. It works on its own.
For
You don't
sure.
have to buy PEP. The program is, the tool shed is free. That's all you need. So just
Absolutely.
because everyone will ask.
I totally agree. And you are so right, Sue. Okay, so right now I'm going to head back over to the machine and take that off and give you some tips on removing that stabilizer. So while we're making that kind of switcheroo, let's watch this video of how to subscribe to our YouTube channel and like us and follow us on Facebook. If you do that, you'll get notifications for all of our lives. And so take a look at this video of how to like us on Facebook and subscribe to our YouTube channel to get notifications about our live presentations here at Dime.
In this video, we'll show you how to subscribe to a YouTube channel and follow a Facebook page through your phone. Let's start with YouTube. First, open your YouTube app on your phone. Once you're on your home page, search for the Designs in Machine Embroidery in the search bar at the top of the screen. Click on it and go to the channel page. Once on the channel page, click the subscribe button. And that's it. You're now subscribed to the channel. Now, let's move on to Facebook. First, open your Facebook app. Once on your home page, search for Designs in Machine Embroidery in the search bar at the top of the screen. Once on the profile page, click the three dots and select the follow button. And that's it. You're now following the page. Thanks for watching.
So pretty easy, right? So while we were watching that, I opened up my hot water and managed not to spill any, Sue, which is surprising for me because I'm sometimes klutzy. But I pulled this off the machine. So the film that's on the top, we just ripped that away. And there will be some little bits here in the center of your letters that you can actually do what I'm about to do with the back also. Now, the backing is that water soluble stabilizer, and so it's not a tearaway. So you want to cut away any excess before you go to dissolve. And I actually have a really awesome tip that Deborah Jones shared with me about removing this if you cannot or do not want to submerge it. So I usually trim away the excess here. Face your fabric so you don't accidentally cut into your item. So I always like to trim where I can see my fabric. That will help save from cutting into your project. Not always, because I still have done it, but it's good practice. So, and there's my remaining stabilizer. And so that looks really good. So I just need to remove these little bits here. And this, actually, if you kind of rub on it, a lot of them, if they're big pieces, it'll just come out, you know, with the friction. Or if you have like an eraser, it'll pull that right out. Or you can also just use a little bit of water. So, but I'm going to show you on this one here. this piece right here, because these nice clean edges that make it really easy. It's a lot easier than the text. So that one, because the stabilizer is all intermingled in the text, I probably would just submerge this in water, and it's okay to wet these and just air dry it. I've done it before and it works perfectly fine. But if you're like me, sometimes I stitch things and I don't have time to wet the whole project. So take your hot water. So I actually put this hot water in. I used my tea kettle. I brought it to a boil so it's really hot. And then just take a Q-tip and then run it along the edge of your embroidery. And then that actually will just rip right away. Now, if you did not watch Eileen last week when she was talking about the freestanding lace, she actually had two different bowls of water of different temperature to show you how easily it would dissolve if the water was extremely hot. So that's what I've got here is I have very hot water. So be very careful because the hotter it is, it's going to dissolve quicker and easier. So I just put a little bit of water around the edge of the embroidery, and that allows me to just rip away the big chunks of this stabilizer. So I don't have to wet it if I can't. Now, because this is freestanding lace, I probably will submerge this into water at some point because there is still stabilizer underneath these designs right here. And I will want that to completely dissolve so that this truly is reversible. But isn't that cool? And so
But
you can just use a little Q-tip there, Sue, and get rid of it. Have you ever
that
done that?
makes it not quite the way you're doing, but your way is a lot easier. You could also use tweezers too, by the way, makes it a little bit easier to maybe pull it. It might go a little bit faster, but I mean, your hands are fine too. Hot,
Yes,
hot, hot water is the key to it, and
absolutely.
getting it a nice edge on it.
Right, for sure. And I did leave a little bit of excess so I could grab onto it with my fingers there, but look how easy
Yes.
that is. So I can get that all done. And you could do it around your letters. I just chose to do it on this one. These are nice clean edges, so it just is much easier. But you can do this method if you are working with an item, and now it's all stuck to my fingers, so I'm going to stick it over here. If you're working with an item that you can't wet and you still want to use a stabilizer that's going to completely disappear, you could use this technique. Or a lot of times, I don't know about you, Sue, but I can't lie. A lot of times I'm stitching things at the 11th hour, so I don't have time to wet it.
Yes, you're not supposed to do that because anything that
No,
can go wrong will go
no,
wrong, but we
that's
all
right.
do it.
That's
So,
so
and I think
true.
that's a perfect solution. I think that works really well.
Yeah, for sure. And you could do this too on the top. That topper stabilizer as well would help if you've got some little bits and pieces like in your letters that you're trying to remove. But look how gorgeous. So I actually used our metallic thread, the Kingstar metallic. Don't you love that thread, Sue? Do you stitch with
Uh,
that?
It is my favorite thread, and I was actually going to mention to use that when you're designing, because I'm thinking a Halloween design like witch boots, but with the sparkly metallic thread, or Christmas, a little Christmas scene in the middle using a little bit of metallic thread. I think it's stunning. I am
Yeah.
happy every day since Kingstar metallic thread came out that I can actually use metallic thread, and I do use it. Not every design, but almost. I think
Yeah,
about it.
I agree with you. Oh, you know, a little bit of sparkle I think goes a long way. But I actually did do Kingstar on all of these. I used these are actually from our fall quartet, and then this is actually a new Kingstar color, which is a more of a mossy color green, and so I used that for that leaf there. But look just how great it looks on the back. I actually did the same thread in the bobbin. So all metallic thread, and look how gorgeous. These are freestanding lace designs that I stitched from our lace charm collection, and I just stitched it. I did resize. You can see that this one's a little bit larger, so I resized that one a little bit larger, and I just arranged those in my software along that circle that I drew to get that kind of that look I want. So I think this would be beautiful too if you put, you know, some text over the top, and this was the bottom around your placemat as well. So isn't that cool? So I just love that. So
Definitely.
that was a fun project to do for fall there.
Definitely. And I mentioned that there are no problems using Kingstar metallic thread in the bobbin. People ask that all the time. I did, when it came out, I did some embroidery experiments and I tried everything. Kingstar metallic worked on everything.
Yeah.
Freestanding lace, you know, anything you wanted, it just works like regular thread.
Yeah, I totally agree. It's definitely easy to use for sure. So let's see if we have any other questions, and then we're ready to reveal our on the house project this week. So thank you, Laurie. Laurie said she loves that project. And then Caroline Booth says, if you don't have PEP, what other dime software will allow you to create the circle text? So Word Art and Stitches has circle text, and I think you can do it in cut and stitch with a true type text, and then there are two built-in texts. So cut and stitch will do it, Word Art and Stitches, PEP, and my quilt embellisher might. We have so many, guys. We have 15 different pieces of software. It's kind of hard for me to keep those straight, which one will do what. And so I'll look as we're answering some other questions here and see. So my quilt embellisher does have the text tool built in, and yes, you can put it on a circle in my quilt embellisher as well. So there you go. And so Libby, thanks for joining, Libby. So Libby says, I have several dime magnetic hoops, but now I want the sticky hoop. I agree. I love our sticky hoop too. So and Jennifer says, on the text, you did this in Toolshed. I did use the text tool in our embroidery toolshed. The free embroidery toolshed does not have built-in text. You could either add a font pack, or if you have any other dime software that has built-in text, so Word Art and Stitches, Perfect Embroidery Pro, Cut and Stitch, also my quilt embellisher, or the Patch and Applique Maker also has text in that software program as well. So but yes, those are embroidery toolshed that I use to create those, but it was using text from my Word Art and Stitches. Actually, that particular cursive font is from Word Art and Stitches. So I was just seeing if there are any other questions for before we reveal our project. So question for Sue. Linda Taylor Gifford says, Sue, is the Halloween runner behind you from AccuQuilt?
It's not from AccuQuilt, but Good Eye. There's my favorite AccuQuilt die on it. I just added it to a quilt kit that I got from Missouri Star because it had big moons on it, and you have to have a black cat over the moon. So that's one of my favorite dies. Is it's called Cat and Bat. And I just added them to it. So yeah, think outside the box, add stuff. You get the patterns for it. You do it on your embroidery machine. Super easy if you have a magnetic hoop, for
Yeah,
sure.
I totally agree with that too. So lots of people were saying about they like to watch their machine stitch too. When we mentioned that earlier, I was just seeing some of those comments. So we all love to watch the magic happen. And then Dina says, how many hoopings did you do for the I'm thankful for the stitching? I did two, Dina. If you have a hoop that's large enough, you certainly could do one, as we said. But as Sue pointed out, it's really a stabilizer saver to stitch the top one in the size hoop that it needed, and then the bottom one in the size hoop that was best for it, which that would have fit in a 4x4, but I did it in a 5x7 just because that's what I was showing under the camera. But I did those two hoopings for mine. That's a really great question. So let's see if there are any other things before we reveal. And so Barbara says, last minute project. That's my middle name. I need a shirt that says that last minute or procrastinator is my middle name. I'm with you, Barbara, too, for sure. So, okay, so let's talk about our project that we have for not the project, but the special for this week. And then we're going to get on to the on the house project because I know, Sue, you're excited to see what you'll be making with everyone, right?
Always. I loved last month, and I did a whole video on different ideas to do the witch's hair. A whole video, a whole hour. Yeah.
So cute.
I gave a whole bunch of ideas, anything I could think of that worked, and they all did. People tried it. It's fantastic.
Well, that's pretty cool. I'll have to go back and watch that, Sue, at all your different types of hair. I love that. So today's product that is our special product is, as you could guess, it's that new pink hoop mat. So the hoop mat is a mat that you're going to place down on the area that you do your hooping, and it's going to have that nice texture to keep your hoops from squirming around all over the table while you're trying to hoop. So it's a new color, it's a new size, it's a new grid with more markings, and that new color really makes the PAL 3 pop. Now, somebody asked earlier too, I was reading that and missed the name about that light. Yes, that is our PAL 3 light that I was using, and that was the whole reason for this color choice for this new larger hoop mat. Is it really does show that PAL 3 light beautifully. So make sure you get your new hoop mat while it's on special for this next week, for today and through the next week. And don't forget the hoops with still Monster Mash. You saw our little preview. So for the rest of the month, the Monster Hoops are still on special for Monster Mash month. So now the hoop mat, not only do we have that, but I always urge you to check with your local dealer. We have hundreds of dealers throughout the country that carry our dime product. Now, we do have an elite dealer program that dealers have signed up for. If your dealer has signed up for this elite dealer program, it means that they are going to get the new product first, and it will be shipped to them first because they chose this program because they know that you guys want those new products first as well. So I've got this short video that actually shows you all of our elite dealers throughout the country that receive these new products shipped to them first. So take a look at this video of all of those dealers in the different areas of the country. So check out your local dealer, and if they are part of that elite program that you just saw, they get those new products first. So check that out. Okay, so now let's talk about the new On the House project and design for this week. So all of you guys know that our On the House designs, it's a free design that Eileen announces every week. And we would love it if you would share your projects that you've made with these designs using the hashtag Dime Sew Along, hashtag On the House, or hashtag Exquisite Thread. So these are 100% free, and make sure you get them while they are available. And so download them from our dzgns.com page. Now, before we do announce the new one, let's see these projects that you all have been making with the On the House designs. So thanks for everybody that shares their project. And so do the same with this week's On the House design and project. It's this cute little ugly sweater party gift card, or I'm sorry, greeting card that is an invitation. So how cute is that, Sue, right?
I love it. Absolutely love it.
So you can create this cute little card, and Sue, you're going to walk everybody through that, right? If they join you on Saturday, correct?
Step by step, real time at the machine. And I always print out the instructions, and I have an overhead camera that actually works. And I go through absolutely everything and then toss in my Sue ideas of different
Awesome.
things you can do. But
I
yes,
love
step by
that.
step.
Love that. And if you're not, Eileen actually gave you another idea here too. If you're not having an ugly sweater party or some sort of holiday party, you could also use this as a greeting card. So let me just quickly step through how you would achieve this, and then make sure you join Sue for those step by steps. So she created two versions here. You could do a fun little decorative fabric to make that ugly sweater, or a solid fabric with the embroidered text, "You're invited," if you want to send out as an invitation. So first, pre-cutting your applique fabric is really helpful. You can either use your digital cutter with the provided files, or those provided files can also be printed out and used a template paper, or cut them from paper to use as a method of pre-cutting your applique pieces. So you can see there in the sweater, we have the red sweater is one applique, and then the neckline and the hem are also a different fabric to embellish your sweater. So this is going to be stitched onto a card. So you'll prepare the card. Eileen recommends ironing on a no-show fusible stabilizer on the back of the card. That's just going to give more stability for your paper. And then you're going to stick that to the adhesive stabilizer. She used a tearaway adhesive. That's our peel and stick stabilizer. And you can see she's using her sticky hoop. Now, a tip is to turn your design upside down and hang out the excess card so that your card doesn't unnecessarily get stuck to your adhesive stabilizer there. And then you stitch color number 1, and that's your placement guide for the sweater. Then you'll put down your pre-cut sweater piece, and then you're going to stitch color number 2, which is the E-stitch that will tack that all down. Then stitch number 3 is the placement line for the neckline. So then you would place your pre-cut piece of fabric on the neckline, and then the next color that stitches is the E-stitch, because it's we call it an E-stitch. You guys may call it a buttonhole stitch or a blanket stitch. And then it's going to go ahead and stitch the placement line for the hem as well. Then you'll place down the hem fabric that you pre-cut. It'll do the E-stitch for your next color. And then the last color is the text. And then once you have done that, you'll simply remove it from your stabilizer. So remove it from the hoop and then just glue a blank piece of paper or cardstock on the inside to line the card, and that will cover up the embroidery on the back. So really easy, Sue. I can't wait to see what you do with this project.
I have ideas already, and one of them has to do with metallic thread. So,
Yay.
yes, and maybe some HTV and maybe a Halloween theme because
Yeah.
I would wear an ugly Halloween sweater. So maybe we'll do something like that.
That would be cute. Well, Ann Philbeck is asking if this would make an ornament. You could do a freestanding applique for an ornament. What I might would do, since this is just an E-stitch around the edge, you might want to use your software to make that like a satin stitch, and then you could turn this into a patch, which is, you know, essentially a freestanding applique as well. So that might make a good ornament. So what do you think, Sue?
You could also do it like a mug rug and make it reversible. So you could make a pretty one and an ugly one, whichever
I love that.
side you wanted. So,
I
yeah, and
like
put a little
that.
batting in between as one of them.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's what I
great
would do if
idea.
you wanted
Yeah.
to.
Great idea. Love that. So next week, Eileen will be back with you. And I went well over time. As you can tell, I had a lot to say today. And so I just wanted to say that you'll see Eileen back next week. She always has something fun and exciting planned for you. So make sure you join her next Thursday at 1 p.m. Central. And I wanted to say thank you so much, Sue, for joining and sharing the screen with me and sharing your tips on hooping and stitching on your knit scarf that you shared. So thank you so much for being here as well.
Thank you for having me. It's always wonderful and exciting to be on this
Yeah.
show for sure. And on the house. I can't tell you how much I love on the house.
Yeah, agreed. I definitely think we have some fantastic designs. So,
Yes.
all right, guys, I'm going to say thank you all for being here. I really appreciate it. Hope you guys learned something fun today. And until we have another Between Friends, Sue and I are going to say bye for now, and we'll see you next time.
Bye, everyone. Thank you.